Part 5. Chapter 41. We had no fair that year. Everyone reluctantly agreed that allowing tourists to visit those precious nests in the hidden grove would be too dangerous. We didn't want to disturb the few hummingbears who'd returned. The council created a committee to decide the best way forward. It consisted of 4 adult members, including Miss Rossett and Mr. Burke, and 1 junior member, me. I barely said a word at the first committee meeting, but when I realized the adults actually wanted to hear my thoughts, I relaxed. Soon I began to realize how complicated every decision we made was going to be. How would it affect the villagers, the land, the river, the birds and insects and animals? To begin with, we stopped the bounty on screechers. That much was easy. We considered paying villagers to remove the peacock snails that were harming our willows, but when folks tried, they ended up damaging the roots of the trees. Screechers were simply much better at it. Some people suggested poisoning the snails, and the committee thought about it briefly. But Miss Rossett and I both agreed that we might end up killing the trees in the process, not to mention other creatures. When we learned about a nearby village that had been overrun with screechers, we created a new incentive for hunters, a payment for every screecher from that area safely trapped and brought to, perchance, alive and well. It wasn't perfect. We risked disrupting screecher families, but it was a compromise, and we felt we could live with it. And bringing in screechers would help keep the snail population under control. It helped that nature is resilient, and sometimes surprisingly quick to recover. The screechers resettled easily, and by the next autumn, a quarter of the riverside blue willows had hummingbear nests in them. When tourists complained about the horrible beasts stinking up our village, we learned to simply shrug and say, when screechers were invented, Mother Nature made them scented. That's Fall's Fair, despite having fewer hummingbears, was just like it had always been. Performers lined the streets. The inns were completely full. Music played for days. I went a few times, though I tried to keep my distance. For the most part, I still hated noise and crowds. That certainly hadn't changed. Nevertheless, I'd managed to start attending school again, with the eager support of Mrs. Rossett and Connor. To be honest, I missed a few days now and then. Sometimes I just needed to wander the woods. Being close to nature gave my heart a chance to heal. I suppose I'll be healing till the end of my days. Seems that's how it goes when you lose someone you love. All things considered, school wasn't so bad. Miss Rossett obtained 2 books just for me. One about zoology, the study of animals. The other about botany and the science of plants. And those always brought me back, those books and Connor. The last day of the fair, I promised to help Connor close up his stand. He still sold hummingbears, but he'd started making other puzzlers too. They were wonderfully strange. Hawks with fins, lions with wings, screechers with smiles. His father admitted he didn't understand what they were, or why Connor wanted to make them. But he didn't stand in Connor's way either. Some folks sneered when they saw Connor's puzzlers. On the first day of the fair, while Mr. Burke, Connor, and I were chatting, a woman walked past Connor's stand and loudly whispered, "What on earth is wrong with that boy?" To our shock, Mr. Burke responded, "What on earth is wrong with your imagination?" Connor and I had to kneel behind the stand to hide our laughter. That final eve, after I helped Connor pack up his things, we joined May and Bertie at the Riverwalk. The sun was melting onto Round Top Ridge, a puddle of pinks and reds and violets, but the bubble nests mirrored the spectacle. Duzu, sitting on Connor's shoulder, cooed at the other hummingbears. "Was that yes, no, or maybe, Connor?" May asked, wrapping her shawl around the shoulders. "I've never heard that particular coo," he said. Maybe that was just between Duzu and them. We passed a juggler and a man playing a sweetly sad song on his mandolin. When he reached Nudewit Pool's stand, Connor used the money he'd made that day to buy each of us one of the baker's hummingbird-shaped pastries. "You shouldn't waste your coins on us," Connor said Bertie. "Bird's right," May agreed, although she was already wiping berry filling from her chin. "As a matter of fact, I sold 3 shawls today." "It's good to have the fare return." Bertie leaned back her head and smiled at the nests above us. "Wouldn't have happened without you, Willodeen." I grinned. "Piffle," I said, and we all laughed. We sauntered along the rest of the Riverwalk. "Connor," I said, "do you remember how you told me you were writing a story about Quinby?" He nodded. "Did you ever finish it?" "I'm getting close to the end," he said. "I have the feeling there's just one more part I need to add. I'd like to read it when you're ready." "You will, I promise," he smiled, "as soon as I puzzle out the rest." We walked May and Bertie home. With their permission and a large lantern, Connor and I decided to walk up the hidden grove. "Be careful," May warned, "and don't stay too long." "I promise," I told her, and I kissed her cheek. "Screecher hunting, are you?" Bertie asked. "Just looking for more questions," I replied. Bertie laughed. "Trust me, Willodeen, you'll never run out of those." The screecher has come back to the place where she began. Some of the awkward animals, the ones with their 2-legged lurching and their odd smell, brought her back. There was Annette, screaming, scrabbling, but no pain. They'd put her in a dark box, and after a while they'd let her go into these woods. Such strange animals. Even now she isn't sure whether to trust or fear them. She knows this place well. Already she's found her old feeding spot, the stem with its cold sweet water, and the trees, their roots dotted with snails that make her drool. It's always good to eat, but oh, those snails! Is there anything better? She inhales the scents of the village, the river, the forest, the blue willows. The faint smell of smoke from a fire, long past, still lingers. But more than anything, the air is full of life, messy and urgent and thrilling. Night is coming, and she's pleased with the abandoned dens she's found. Cozy, warm, it's protected on 3 sides. Why was she brought back to this place, with its ferns and snails and singing stream? What purpose is she supposed to serve? She knows only that she is glad to be here. Drifting off, the screecher settles into her den, but something's new is coming. She jerks awake, alert to fresh scents and sounds. She hears the grunts and sighs and songs of the awkward animals, which sometimes, but not always, means danger. She tests the air. She knows those 2 scents. She remembers those sounds. They mean gentle hands and warm food and safe sleep. Another scent floats on the breeze. She recalls a furry winged animal with wide eyes, ever watchful. She waits. The movement has stopped, but the scents remain. Could they be hiding, observing her from a safe distance? She makes the night's noise from long ago, a grumbly purr from deep within her chest. A moment later, there it is, a delicate answering trill. After low clouds, the moon makes its appearance. The forest floor shimmers. She sits up. She raises her head. Above the treetops, stars blossom. The sound she makes is wild and loud and free. It hurts. It's so loud. She screeches again. What a lovely sound it is! She's not sure why she needs to do it. Who knows why we do what we do? There are so many questions that will never have answers. But she is certain of one thing. She has just a moment on this old wise earth, this earth that will always be wiser than its inhabitants, and she is lucky indeed to be part of its magic. And that is the end of Willodeen. That is it.
The whole book?
Yeah, and look at the end. Who did the Screecher make a reunion with? Guess who this is? It's Quinby. Yeah. So guess who that is? Starts with a D.
Can't remember.
Duzu.
Yeah.
So Quinby and Duzu met at the end. And they didn't think they would ever see Quinby again after she ran off before the fire, right? Mm-hmm. But that story said they caught her in a net in a village and brought her back home. It was all a familiar tree where she had grown. What do you think of that? And what was the lesson? Do you know the lesson about the earth? Is it?
Earth will always know more than us.
Yeah, more than its inhabitants. That's right. And that was the lesson. So we got to pay attention to what nature teaches us. Pay attention to what the science says too, right? Because science is how we observe nature.
We love this book.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of this.
There might be. We'll have to look.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a good book. All right. Are you ready to say adios to the internet?
Adios!
Adios!